Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to another exchange place. And y'all, I got a special month that this is. June for us is what? We celebrating men.
I
I'm just saying. I'm telling the people we celebrating men. This month is 100% is dedicated to my dad, who's no longer here. His birthday is this month. It's Father's Day.
It's a lot.
And I really believe that we don't listen to men enough. I know that's probably like the oxymoron of things because people don't really tap into that. But even, I think, looking at posts, like when we ask men's opinion, it's like we want to know, but we really don't want to know. So I have...
It's a trap.
I know, it's a trap. Yeah. I have some heavy hitters in the house today who have blessed me with their presence, who have been just influential to me, probably in ways that they don't know. So I'm sitting around the table with, of course, we got our Coach Q back in the building.
Yeah, how you doing?
And that's you.
Yes.
And then we got the Love Lane Co. Man in the building. And
Thanks for the invite.
Out here doing his thing.
We doing it, man. We doing it.
I love it. And then we got somebody new to the show. This is my brother from another mother, Khalil Keo.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Deb.
I know. I'm so happy that you guys were able to come. And we talking about a tough topic today. Look, everybody just shaking their head like we were kind of talking a little bit before we let y'all in on this. So this is a continuation of what we talked about. But this actual episode is actually inspired by Q.
That was kind of heavy when you sent me that in the text.
It really is because there's things, you know what? I store things. There's things sometimes that people say to you that kind of hit you and trigger something. And the conversation that we had in regards to your dad calling you and kind of saying how proud he was for like raising your kids and told you, I think, out of two generations.
Yeah, first in two generations.
That's what you were. I was like, something about that just stuck. And I was like, wow. So today's topic is kind of why men leave. And I wanted to really get to that, get understanding. And I know we all have different perspectives, but I wanted to hear y'all voices. I want to hear why you think men actually leave the household relationships. And I'm going to come from the women's perspective because I think women want to know this, that are listeners too. It seems a little bit easier for men to leave than it does a woman to leave. That is like unheard of. So if I ever hear that a woman has left her children or left to whatever, go sow her royal oats, whatever the situation is, I feel like it's looked at so much harder than when men leave. So again, I'm a woman. I've never left, but I'm a woman, so I kind of have that view, and we'll maybe tackle that another time. But I really want to tackle why you think men leave, or if you're a man who has left a certain relationship, like what is that? Now, I'm not talking about abusive relationships. I'm not talking about that, but like what makes a man just pack up and leave? And you got...
I think it's so many variables into that. So, are we just leaving we're not talking a girlfriend, boyfriend type of...
I'm talking both.
We're talking the family. We're talking leaving the household.
I'm talking about leaving the household. I think, so this is one of the statistics that I got back from 2019. So there's 15.76 million single mother households. Opposed to, and there's single fathers. Shout out to my single fathers because I know that there are single fathers, but there was like 3.3 of single fathers on the flip side. So what is driving that number up? And I didn't even look at race or anything because I really just wanted to do overall because I know if we did more digging under that there's probably, some significant values in even race and culture and all of that. But like, what do you think happens, even if it's, and it doesn't always, because everybody's commitment looks different. I don't think everybody's commitment is under the umbrella of marriage, especially in the day and age that we live, if we're honest. But I mean, like, leaving the household. So, like, you have children with this woman, not just, and maybe you guys can speak to that too. I don't want to, let's not box it off, but like leaving a household, like what do you think, or what do you think prompts that for most men?
Well, I think the same thing that would take a man to leave the household is the same thing with just a broken relationship. Like if a relationship is over, the relationship is over. Now, when kids are involved, I've never been in a situation where I've had to leave my significant other and our kids behind. Me personally, just how I was raised, if I did, because my father, I told you, my family, the middle name should be divorced. It's like everybody's been divorced, but now we're just one big family. Okay. So they have a way of the relationship not working, but the family's still working. You know
That's
what I mean?
Good, though.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Like I said, I got like sets of grandfathers. I got sets of grandmothers, sets of moms and dads. You know what I mean? I have a village.
So what do you think the secret to that is? Like blending
growth and maturity. It wasn't always like that. I think when you leave a relationship, there's always some type of bitterness in the beginning. It may last a year, it may last a month, or whatever. But the older they got, and the more they realize, hey, my kid is having children. You got grandchildren, you got people involved that just had nothing to do with your broken relationship.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I held I had no malice or anything towards anybody.
Yeah.
So why should I not be able to see my brothers or
I agree.
you know what I mean? So
I agree.
Now, on the flip side, to when a man leaves his family, sad to say, but most of the time in some aspect, you do leave your children because you're not in the household with them. And when you're not in the household with a child, you can be the best father in the world from the outside. Like, hey, you're coming to pick them up on your weekends, you're doing this. But we all know that in-house, you're teaching your children things that you don't even know that you're teaching just because you're there.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Just to come to bust in the room and mess with you, boom, they can't do that when you're not there.
Yeah.
So, and now, again, that's kept relationships together that didn't need to be together.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to leave their children. There's a lot of people in relationships right now that those children are gluing them together because that relationship is over.
Yeah.
But because they don't want to leave their kids, so it's a tough. But I'm not going to talk. Give it to one of the brothers.
So I'm going to go to Q only because I feel like, what made you stay? Because what you saw, we're products. We learn by what we see more than kind of what people teach you. Like, stay, but you learn by what you saw, right? So I know that you and your dad have like repaired your relationship, and you have one now.
Come back together.
Yeah, and that's amazing. But I'm talking about in your your own personal life. Was it just like not to?
That's I ain't gonna lie. When you said this subject, it took everything not to call that brother and have a conversation before we got here. And
Keo too.
Right,
Keo wanted to talk to me about it. I was like, wait till the show.
I was like, yo, this is too.
How do we attack
this? This is too heavy. And so I sat, and I did my own research because I live in the house with my kids.
I did as well.
Yeah.
So I went outside and started talking to brothers, and I had to go back and speak to brothers because I think this is one of the things I'm gonna say. Component is that we don't feel. So I had to get past their emotional response first to that statement to get down to the nitty gritty.
Wow.
And I think a lot of times we as males are treated like we don't feel.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I'm not going to start there. But first thing I'm going to say is I think one of the issues is when we talk about things like this, we attack. If you want to destroy something, you attack the top of it. If you want to fix something, you attack the foundation.
I agree.
So to attack the foundation, we got to step back and look at how we raise children. And what gets taught to children directly and indirectly.
Okay.
Any man will tell you what matters most to me is respect.
Okay.
If a man tells you that, something ain't right with him. He ain't being honest with himself.
Right.
I'll tell you straight up and down, when two men start speaking, if the three of us, when we are talking, we've met each other. This is my first time meeting the brother, but we both know there's going to be a certain level of respect and rapport that we have when we're talking to one another. Why? Because there's always a mild threat of violence when two men are speaking.
We were talking about that before.
Yeah,
you are going to, and it's not calling nobody a coward. Nobody's tougher than anybody. It's just that if we don't stay here in this little realm of how we speak, it's not going to work out very well. Right. When we were younger, when we were younger people, we raised our voices before the fight started. Now that we're older gentlemen, and I think they'll agree with me, it's no longer a raise of the voice, it's a catty statement. And I say that for the purpose of saying it's catty, sarcastic, something like that, because we don't need to yell no more.
Right.
But after that catty statement, you might get one, I might get two, and you're second. We're gonna wrestle. That's just the reality.
Right.
So and that's not saying we're not civilized society. That's just how that works. Now the difference is, I did some thinking on this.
Okay, listen, I'm all ears.
You going strong.
I was watching.
Listen, ears is on.
I was watching. I always, when I train people, when I do my personal training, I always tell people watch animals. Animals move instinctually.
Yeah.
We're the only creatures on the planet that says it's not right to strike the female of the species simply because you're the female of the species. I'm not saying I'm agree with women beating or anything like that. I agree with that. You shouldn't put your hands on nobody.
I was about to say don't.
But
put
the
your hands on
problem is
nobody.
women don't get that when you do that catty thing when we're talking. Now listen to what I just said. As a man,
Right.
it ain't the raising of the voice. It's the catty statement that can lead. When we were younger, the catty statement led to the raising of the voice that led to the fight. I have a lot of sisters. I've watched women go back and forth catty-wise for weeks, sometimes on end. Slick statement. As a guy, when that slick statement happens, I'm turning down that thing that says attack. And that doesn't mean physically attack, but
I know what you
emotionally and
mean.
verbally attack. I'm turning that down so I can't hear you no more. But that's a respect thing, because in the females' world, that's not disrespectful, because you guys can do that. As men, that's disrespectful, because the moment that happens, we're leading to something else. So a discord takes place with that. And I think as children, sadly, and I had this is another thing, this thing's hit me a lot this week, because I have an older gentleman next door to me that lives next door to me. And me and him aren't on the best of terms, and he's a lot older.
Yeah.
He's a lot older, and we had gotten a debate over some garbage cans. It was silly, but he cursed at me.
Gotcha.
And because he was an
Y'all start
older man, I didn't do what I would do if the man was in.
Y'all didn't start wrestling.
Yeah, we didn't start wrestling because he's like 70
But
years
that's
old.
only because of the
But
respect
that's
of an
because
older.
but no, that's because you're old.
That's what I'm saying. The respect
Because
of
what
an
I'm
older
about to say
gentleman.
next let me know that I didn't respect you. I didn't respect you because if you were an older woman, I'd have laughed that off. And laughed it off like that, that's grandma. I didn't say, yo, that's grandpa. No, that's actually dangerous because, like I said, we got to attack something from the foundation. What are we teaching children, boys and girls, about respecting the men in the family? See, I think people walk away from the men walk away from their. When the subject was brought up, I thought, it's not just walking away from your house and your relationship, but it's also your moms and sisters and aunties and nieces. And like, you walk away from that because as a man, you don't feel respected.
So in that, let me just ask you a question, because that was a lot.
Yeah, trust me, it was a lot to think
No, it was
about.
a lot. It was a lot.
There's Bible there too.
Yeah.
Because the Bible says, women honor your husbands.
Yeah, and the way that you
Correct.
speak to them.
Yeah,
so I also
heavy.
think it's maturity too. I also think so. Do you have this conversation, I think, prior to going into relationship? And I ask this because,
No.
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Explain it first, but instinct-wise, no.
This is what I'm thinking, right? A woman who grows up in a household where she's been taught to disrespect a man or talk over a man, and I won't even just say man, I think just people, because or not a good listener, right? While you were talking, I was listening because I'm trying to understand and get the grasp of it, right? And I do that a lot, even in
Nah, but you special with that, Deb, I'll be honest.
difficult conversations. I haven't always been like this, though. You know what I mean? But is it a conversation you have with your partner, like, hey, this is what I need. Like, I need, when it's conflict, that we're able to, even if that means not in this moment, because I could go off, and I know that, right? And I'll use my kids even as an example, that I have to, yesterday, I went to use my ring light that I bought, that my camera's sitting in there. I don't have to bother nobody. Nobody got to come take a picture or nothing. And I moved my light, which I know when I came home it was on. So somebody was using it, and it's broke. And I was like, I don't know. I called both of the boys because neither one of them did it, right? Even though they're the other two people that live in my house. And I was like, I know I didn't do it. So you know what? Anytime I want to use the light, one of you, that's y'all job. because not only did you break it, you didn't even have the audacity to say, hey, I broke it, can you get another one or anything. You just waited for me to find it. But back to like, I think communication is so important in those realms of like, especially that level of partnership, whether it's marriage, whether it is, just that y'all are together, y'all don't have that, realm or umbrella of commitment, but y'all still are committed to one another in the way that you decided for that to be, because everybody's relationships look different. But I feel like, why don't we have those conversations? So why doesn't the person on the other end at that point, maybe it's not prior to the relationship, maybe it's in the beginning of the relationship when you feel like that. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, I've turned down.
I think that the reason I think that conversation doesn't come up because we as, like, literally, you said this question to me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I talked to brothers for 2 weeks, and it took me. In that 2 weeks is where I come to this revelation.
Right.
Okay.
So it wasn't like
it was like something I thought about before that, because
come sit right down and do it.
grow up, you're just growing up. You think that everyone grows up how you grow up until you go off and see somewhere else.
It's almost like my expectation, just like him coming in here. I'm not expecting him to be catty or a certain way. So in our interactions as men, our normal expectation of people's decorum, right, is you're not going to say that, you're not going to do that. And I can say in the course of my life, right, as a man, times that I've been disrespected, if I'm comparing it to women, and definitely women close to me, to men of all type of violent capacities, right? Drug dealer, whatever you want to say, killer, right? The amount of times that I've been talked to in ways where I'm having to turn it down, and literally spending my time in my mind, like, if I want, like right now, I just tear this whole house apart. I'll demolish the house, everything, your cousin, your brother, and your uncle. But you're sitting and you're like, okay, right, and he's right about that.
So at that point, you're deaf to anything that's coming out of that person's
real hard
spot?
Think about trying to listen while you're angry.
It's a smack. It's almost like how women respond to physical assault,
abuse.
So you think it's abuse?
To men, it feels like that.
Because they can't respond.
So think something.
Because
I'm not even gonna talk back to you. Reckless like that.
Think of something that makes him. Something that's going to make someone be violent, and like he said, that's right.
Wow.
Think about it. We're encountering that, but we're not able to say anything.
You're not able to respond.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, like people ask like why, like at a certain age, like a lot of time boys, especially, like I know I did this. You go out, you spend more of your time outside.
Right.
And you spend more of your time outside because I was like, I have 6 sisters and mom, but I can't react. But outside, I can react.
I'm getting out of here. Yeah.
Outside, I can, and outside, I don't even get talked to like this. It doesn't even happen. You wouldn't even think about it. Like, it's a lot of I'll give you an older
listening, ladies,
I'll give you an older component.
I got some jewels.
The older component. This happened recently. Me and my brother got upset because we were both like, and I'm sorry, Mama. We were both like, planning of family functions.
Okay.
All of the women in the family get together and plan the family function. And as a guy, you get a phone call.
You show up.
That says, hey, we're doing this, this, and this, this, and this. And the only thing you have to decide is if I'm coming or not. I'm the 3rd oldest child. Why is my 10-year younger sister's voice mattering more in that conversation than mine's already? Why does that take place? And listen, it's something, like I said, we don't think about it because my grandmother and her aunts and her siblings did it. My mom and her siblings did it. Now my sisters are doing it. And I used to sit and wonder why my grandfather sat in a chair and didn't say nothing.
Same thing as
and my brother and me both said, I understand now. And that's not saying I agree with the man's actions. I understand why Dad left in some ways.
Gotcha.
I understand. And I'm not saying that my mama was wrong, and I'm not saying my daddy was right. I'm not saying vice versa either, but I'm saying from the male perspective.
You understand the walk.
I understand, yes, that walk now. I understand because this is simple. It's a trip. It could be a trip to, like, I don't know, Ocean City, Maryland. So why are you all discussing? Because it feels borderline manipulative.
I was about to say, does it make you feel left out? Or
No,
do you think...
It makes me feel manipulated. And who wants to feel manipulated? Because after enough times of doing that, because this ain't the first time. It's just the first time that we both was like, yo, Yo, did you realize what happened?
What's
Yeah,
going
man.
on?
I was on the phone. Did you see that? Yeah, I'm mad. Yeah.
You know what's weird about that? So as you're talking,
That's not. And I'm gonna take this right here because
Yeah.
a lot of times women will say like, "You don't even care." No, I may not, but I would like to have the ability to say I don't care.
Right.
okay, and that's fair. I think I was about to say I feel like in my family, and there's not a lot of men, right? So I have one blood brother. I have a whole bunch of other brothers, but it's just me and him, right? We're really raised very differently. And in different roles, I guess is the manner to say that. So like, my brother is not coordinating nothing. That's just not what he does.
Oh no, I'm not saying coordinate. But just
So I
your
would,
opinion.
I was about to say, I would definitely, I feel like, and I'm gonna ask him the question because now I want to know. He was definitely included. Now my dad, when he was living, God rest his soul, my dad, he was, it makes me laugh. He was a different character in the sense of kind of like the quiet man, but he was like a quiet storm, if that makes sense. So he made all the decisions because he was the breadwinner and the kind of the facilitator of the home. My mom was a mom most of her life. She had odd jobs here and there, but for the most part, her job was us and the household. But my dad wasn't like, he ain't going nowhere. Like, it don't matter what you play. he not showing up. I'm just saying, he not going anywhere. It would have to be death. And I hate to say this, marriage, which depends on who you are. Like, he wasn't going anywhere. He was on the porch. And that's where he is. He chilling. You could come kick it with him. As you know, I learned to meet my dad where he was, but you could come kick it with him. Food, he might be in the kitchen. He throw down in the kitchen and he gonna eat, but he's not coming to family functions or events and stuff like that. Or you going out to eat, you can bring him something back. He not, you know what I mean? He don't really.
My grandfather was like that too.
It might be because of what.
And I just about to say,
the brother just said.
and I learned later that's why my
That's
grandfather
why
was like
he was
that.
just like, I'm just not. Yeah, I don't think it was.
But that's what I mean by when we say men leaving. Sometimes it's not just we're totally gone. I checked out here in this situation because I know my opinion don't matter.
That happens in parenting too.
Okay.
So there's scenarios, I can say like a credit to my wife, right?
Yeah.
She's the
We
consummate.
love your wife.
That's my baby.
Yeah,
But the
Tamara.
consummate planner, right?
Yep.
But if you think anything's happening, right, out that's involving the Cunningham household, we've talked about it, right? So
I know that about her, though.
So it's something where we would have talked.
Good lad.
And they're planning, yes, because we'll sit and we'll say, hey, she'll say, how do you want this to happen? And she'll do it. And then it's just like, that to me is king, queen.
It is.
Right?
It
Then it
is.
runs and it boom, and she can even answer on behalf of me, and that thing is gone. But my input has been there.
Yeah.
What he said also was that planning thing, sometimes in the parental realm, right? So we get it, right? Yeah, the kid is living there. But when you come back to me and say, hey, Johnny's going to be playing golf tomorrow. Show up at 11 o'clock at the golf outing, right? And now my whole life is kind of coming in response to the plan that you've already made, right? And I might, in my mind, say, hey, I think tomorrow at 11, I want to take Johnny and play basketball. He's 6'8".
Yeah.
Right? I got my rules. I got reasons for it, right? And you're like, no, he wants to play golf. He needs to play golf because I think he should play golf, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing where you're just kind of, and that happens enough and enough and enough.
Yes.
Police get involved, or when you really know that at the combat point, there's not a real fair fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
At combat point, you're wrong. Every time you go to a courtroom, you're wrong.
I know.
At
I
the
hate
point
the
in
court
that,
part.
what
yeah.
happens is kind of you're like, you know what?
Just do whatever you want to
Hopefully
do.
they will grow up and understand why I did what I did.
Absolutely.
That's what dudes come to. That's the one statement I got from a lot of brothers. They said, hopefully when my children come of age, because this is what most people don't, like I had a conversation with a brother about this. I said, yo, your daughter going to love you. It's that son that's going to get angry. And he said, and his response was, hopefully he will grow up and after experiencing a little bit of life, understand.
Yeah. Look how many years that might cost him.
Yeah,
I was about
that's
to
real.
say, I
Me
think,
and my dad, it was 15 plus.
I hate, so part of me hates that for a number of reasons because I feel like fathers, that is not how it should be. First of all, I mean, I don't know. We don't have all the answers. I think we want to tell the listeners about that, of like how to navigate that. But I think not only do you damage the kid, right? And that kid is growing up, you know, God willing that they don't become you or be so, you know, boys have daddy issues as well as little girls, right? So I just think that's such a, and I want to call it what I'm always going to be truthful. I call it a cop out because it's like, yo, your kids are being impacted thoroughly by that. If you just like, oh, I'm gonna wait until they get older. If they want to be around you when they get older,
But
if they choose,
as a dude, you don't really got a choice sometimes in that matter.
do you think so?
1,000%.
I think so.
Unless
Okay.
you want
Unless you wanna go to
sometimes
court.
The impacts of, so I think what,
I hate
what,
court,
what the
by the
brother
way.
said, what he said about broken relationships,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think of these numbers, we have to make that distinction. Are we talking about a crisis of broken relationships?
Okay.
Or is there something where men are leaving?
Yeah.
Because broken relationship, the reason that relationship is broken, honestly, if that relationship were together, there may be so much turmoil and chaos in that
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
household.
agree with that. Yeah.
To where
That's what we're
it
talking
would,
about, yeah.
it would be detrimental to the child anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
no, I agree that. Don't just be staying there in anything just for the kids. Because here's the thing: the kids know either way. I love what Ant said about
Right.
that. Is that he's kind of at a place, or his family has somehow been able to navigate through growth or communication or whatever that's been to a place where
involved.
they don't lose that. Do you know what I mean? That. Hey, okay, we're no longer together, but hey, your brother's over here. I was just saying this to somebody. So I grew up within the 2-parent household, right? The hardest relationship that I've ever navigated was my boy's dad. And mainly because I really could not see past anybody else raising them. But I also understood that particular relationship was not a healthy one for me. So it's like, but it took me way too long to get there. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of that wasn't necessarily healthy for the boys because they got to view it and see it along with it not being healthy for me. So I totally understand that, right? I totally get that part. But I feel like there has to be an avenue, and I'll use this as an example. A close friend of mine, this is years ago too, who's now a single dad. Shout out to them single dads, right? And I remember me and him dated for a while. And I remember when I stopped dating him, I'm going to tell you why. He was an officer. He had been suspended. His children's mom was far out mentally, which I got to witness, right? They had 3 children together. He still was he was the mom, and I hate to say that, but he was kind of the mom in the relationship of taking, like, I had never seen a father have the responsibility for a child like that. I'm going to be very honest. And again, this is like years and years ago. But I had never seen a man navigate, and he has boys, but I had never seen a man navigate even their sons like that. And I remember the ex-girlfriend or whatever let her use the car for the boys or something like that, and drinking, she got into an accident. And when he showed me the car that the kids were in, I lost it. I was like, you have to stop facilitating her bad behavior, right? And we're talking about a woman. And he was like, well, if it happens with her, she gonna have to deal with that. And I lost it. I was just like, no, I can't be part of this. Y'all have to navigate that. But those types of situations do exist. Again, single parent. He has both of the boys, which are all doing amazing. I know that she's in the boy's life, but not as active as you. Again, the tables are kind of turned. Like, you know, I know that they live in his household or whatever. So that does exist. I hate court. I want to come back to that because I think other people should not. We have to be at a place of maturity. I know relationships end and it's bitter, and there is all types of stuff on both ends because I've received it. You know what I'm saying? As well as given it. I can really say that. Like, there's been a progression of growth. I haven't always been where I sit today, and prayerfully I can keep on growing through that. However, it's like, I don't want anybody. I actually ended up in court because I was taken to court, which is like the odd thing. So it was like, them versus me, and I was just like, okay. And it was, but I felt bad that anybody else has to dictate that we can't. Do you know what I mean? That like.
Can't work it out. We couldn't work it out so much that we had to have other people that have no race. You have no horse in this race, but you get to dictate.
And you get to dictate what this is. Yeah. And not even, so that's the thing. That's the thing about court that I don't like, because I don't think anybody wins.
No, I think that the courts, almost every system that exists has been built to.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wins.
It goes back to the first thing about you, our voice not being heard.
Yeah.
So if our voice not heard in our own household, how the hell are you gonna get
heard? Gonna be heard in
the courtroom, bro? Can I send in a stunt dummy? Like, why I even gotta go?
Why?
Yeah.
Like, it's
send a crash dummy. Because I'm not gonna bounce off the walls
very
like that.
important here, though. So it's a lot easier when it's an obvious case of somebody's not fit, right?
Okay.
The issue we're talking about is people's rearing, right? You're talking people who have high degrees of education, confidence, and I think in our society we're making a lot of strides in terms of building the confidence of our women, right?
Yeah.
But then you get that goes to an extent where a person's just like, I can't be wrong. Their level of confidence toward what they're thinking and how they're moving,
all-time
they
high.
could never see a fault. In these scenarios, I think when you see these families work, right, there's usually a woman who's there who has made it. So I give credit to my children's mom, right, because in the times where they just honor me, we can go head to head, right?
Yeah.
But Daddy they honor, right?
Yeah,
and they're respecting,
your voice, yeah.
And they're making sure within that relationship between me and that child, that they're making that deliberate effort to see the respect of Dad. I think that's very important.
It's very important. I think, again, honor thy mother and thy father. And I think it's adult stuff and kid stuff that people have to be able to separate. And everybody's not there to be able to say, hey, I might not agree with certain things how you rear people, because again, it's hard to bring two people together that have grown up differently and kind of figure it out in the household of like how we're raising our own children, and not to say that these are not your own children, you know what I mean, but like how we're going to do this in our household. I think it's doubly hard, which I ain't sure if that's even a word, but it's harder, right, to do that now if like you're no longer in my home. B, God forbid, I have somebody else that's in my home. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I have someone else that I'm submitted to. I'm just saying that. And then I have a child by somebody who's like, has a different parenting style or rearing style that I'm trying to appease you. I think people can be in with their back up against the wall. And I think if we don't communicate well and try and get to a place of growth, a place of communication, like what Ann said, like we're gonna lose. You're gonna have so many, and I'm one of them, right? I'm an adult who recently had to deal with childhood issues, and that's the thing when Q was talking about like, oh well, guys just feel like, well, I'll just leave, and hopefully when the kids get older, they'll understand. That's a dangerous place, man. You hope
that's a place of almost hopelessness.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. And the brothers that said it to me, that's how. Like I think sometimes
that's scary.
That was like something that you asked at the beginning. How is it so much easier it seems for guys to leave? And I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But I mean, it doesn't. We don't show emotion the same way, so it's equated to it's easy for him.
Okay.
Every guy I know that's been through there, when he's at that moment, he's drunk. Every time you find him, you find him, he's just angry, and he be. Three of us, let's imagine we all grew up together, been friends since we was like 5. If I walk away, I might be snapping at these guys every 5 minutes, and they know it's not me. That brother in pain, but because
it just looks
because
different.
of how we're told. Our emotional responses are acceptable throughout life.
Okay.
Definitely black men.
It comes out totally different, and it's like, oh, he ain't got no feelings. Yeah, he has a ton of them. You know how callous of a heart you gotta have to walk away from your children and the mother of your children and be comfortable with it?
Yeah.
That's not realistic. It's
Yeah.
not realistic to ask him or think or expect that he really did, but you didn't see it, so you don't think anything was wrong. He's not. I've been taught my whole life to keep this wall up and not show.
Right.
So why would I all of a sudden show? And we don't like each other no more. You
Yeah.
were my comfortable. Like, I don't think women get that a lot. You are my comfortable place. You are my only comfortable place. You're the only place that I can. I cried in front of my wife this week over something that happened with my son because I was just so confused. I shed tears, and like I wiped them, and we kept talking. I ain't doing that in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't. It wouldn't even drop. The conversation would get cut short before I got to that point. And that's how you walk around the whole rest. I expect to be attacked from the moment I walk out the front door to the moment I walk back in.
Wow.
I have an that's crazy to say. If I'm not attacked, oh, today's a good day.
Ice Cube.
Yeah, that was a good
It was
day.
a good day.
You know?
Yeah.
And see what you were saying about the brother with his children. I'm gonna say this: for there to be a modern woman, there has to be a modern man. So guys watching kids like that, it has to stop being as shocking, because you can't be the modern woman if we're not like I can't be my grandfather. I think that's a lot of times a problem in relationships too. Like you expect us to still be what our grandfather was, holding the door, and I'm not saying that holding the door is wrong. I'm just saying that whole shebang.
Some type of example. Yeah.
But you're the modern woman. It can't.
So
you
gotta
can't
give
have
space,
both.
that,
You gotta
that
have
re-
space for
that,
growth.
that requires giving space, because it also requires, I think, giving away a lot of controls.
Yeah.
Because there is a reality that kid is in your house, right?
Yeah.
But if you really want that impact, you have to have the ability for him, because someone outside of your house is controlling your house. Because if you do want that, you are saying, hey, I can make a decision about that kid who's in your house. He's on punishment today. And you have to say, okay, no TV, and back
Yeah.
it. Right, and that takes a lot of growth, and a lot of women are not willing. They're not
Not
willing.
at all.
They're not willing to take that space.
It's the lack of submission.
Right.
Like what you said about your family, that's beautiful, honestly.
Yeah,
I was sitting over here
realize-
like, damn it, I wish they'd
I
have
realize
tried
I'm
that.
grateful. Yeah.
Because this joint sucked. But I wish they'd
Yeah.
have
You know
tried
what's funny?
that.
When I talk about the growth and the communication that led to us being this one big happy family now, if that communication was going on when they were together,
Yeah.
you
They
know,
would
you would,
still
yeah,
be
we
probably
probably
together.
still be together.
I wanna
But that's
talk-
hindsight.
I want to talk about submission though. I'm glad that we brought that up. So
that's necessary.
that's always it's always a cuss word. Me and Amber is actually talking about this this week about it being kind of a cuss word to women. Like right now we have this thing, and I don't know really when it started. It's like this independent woman thing.
Beyonce, go
And,
ahead.
no, it was
no,
it might was
It was
before. I
before.
think B just blew it up.
And in
but-
all honesty, I respect it because it was necessary. Because
So I
you were
like-
getting done wrong.
Women have to feel
For
empowered.
years.
It's a thin line. You have to feel
was wrong.
empowered.
So I think it's a thin line between that, though. So, and I I'm independent woman. I love that, but I think how sometimes it's played is like independent woman means you don't
I don't need a
have
man.
a need for a man.
And that's only the
And
black. I want to jump in because that's the black. That's what they're doing to the black community.
Yeah.
I think one thing
it's the
that
Me
you need to know-
Too's part of the system to destroy us.
But one thing that's very, like, I was talking to Tamara about this yesterday. Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, was the everything of anti-woman you could ever imagine. Everything about him.
Yeah.
But when it came time to vote, guess what white women voted for?
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They voted for Donald. They was like, I don't care about all that stuff. But vice versa, if you think about what's allowed to be kind of said in the narrative of black men,
Yeah.
right? The narrative goes crazy, right? And the narrative is never, it's, oh, you protect yourself from you know what I mean? You got to do. But
I
then
don't
on
know
the other
why
side
that
of that,
is,
they do
though.
not do that.
Because of
It's strategic.
because of, I'll be real.
Right.
Because of
Right.
years of us not protecting you the way we were supposed to. Whether it was
That's
because
true.
we couldn't, with like it was a choice. We protect you and die,
And die.
Yeah.
or we protect
Yeah.
you and fail, and you still go through it anyway, and it's actually
Right.
worse. And when and to a degree, it's almost like when like what's the I forgot the guy in we were like little kids in school. Give me liberty or give me death. You kind of we could have we should have took more of that mantra. That like that's what I feel as from our forefathers.
Right,
But we
right.
wouldn't be here if that had
Not
been
at
the
all.
case. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword. But I'm gonna say this about submission because it was one of the greatest lessons I ever got
I
in
love
my life.
submission.
The problem with submission is the fact that we use that word in its English vernacular. in English, it's a sign that one thing is superior and another thing is inferior.
Yeah. Say that again.
In Arabic,
Yep.
that's how I took it. The
Yeah.
brother told, that was one of the first things he said when I said I was getting married. The brother broke it down. He said, yo, you got to be submissive to your wife, and she has to
Yeah.
be submissive to you.
one another.
And you empower the relationship. Like when two men meet, when we were just talking, when two
Right.
men meet, we're submissive to each other in our
Exactly.
tone. Which empowers. That's why it takes a lot. Like if two grown men don't get along, something really bad happens.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's not something small.
Yeah.
Something real happened.
But I think,
Right.
so I
For
want to
sure.
say this because I think the root of submission is also trust.
Yeah.
So as a woman, my perspective, of course, I can't, anyone I'm submitting to, especially relationally in a relationship, I have to trust that you can lead, right? I can't risk, and again, I've been a single woman for quite some time, so I can't, and I lead my household. Unfortunately, it's not, you know what I mean? Not my desire, right? It's not my desire. It's a lot of weight to lead, right? However, I have to trust if I have someone, first of all, have already chosen wrong, and someone that you can't even lead your own life, where are we going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that part for me, again, I don't have a problem with submitting, but I have to be able to trust, even in, like you said, man to man, there's submission. Me and Am talked about leadership the other night. Leader to leader, there's submission in that because there's trust there. And you have to have, like, women need to, and this is from, the women man perspective, a woman needs to trust what you're doing and leading. If you can't lead yourself, I ain't willing to bet you could lead me, because we ain't both gonna go tumble over the cliff either.
I think that narrative got to change.
It has to change, and I don't know what.
No, I mean
or
the
how
narrative
to-
that I got to lead. And you
So,
gotta lead. Like I think if you
there
better
is
at
a
something,
lead.
then you should lead.
Absolutely.
If I'm better at something, then I should lead.
I think that's the one to another, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, again,
And,
how
fi- and
I
the issue I
understand
think is
that.
figuring it out and
Absolutely.
having the
Right.
pride and lack and turning your ego off enough to say, "You're better at me than
What
that."
do you do well? But so it behooves me. I want to say this because we're not kids no more, right? Especially adults getting into relationship. Behooves me when people get into relationships and you don't have these conversations, like, whoever gonna get me, sir, prepare, because I want to. No, I'm serious. I don't want to. And this is not just for myself. That's how I feel. I feel like the relationship is for both of us, right? I want you to being with the right person is going to make me a better person. And I feel like him being with me will make him a bit like, you know what I'm saying? The exchange. No hints, but you know what I mean? Shout out to the exchange, please. But that exchange has to be that. So in order for me to get that, I feel like at this point, I have to have those conversations very early. Like, look, because I don't want to I don't have that time. I'm a woman of a certain age. You know what I mean? I don't have that time.
Talk is also cheap.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Talk is, nobody, in almost to the point you said about the conversation about how you talking to someone about how you need to be talked to.
Yeah.
Right? To be honest with you, at the point where you have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
To me, so if he sits down, I have to say, yo, don't come on here and saying, how we gonna talk to each
for
other,
real.
right?
Right.
I think we in
It
the wrong
ain't gonna
spot.
work.
But if to naturally we both understand, and that decorum is naturally there.
So
we
let me-
go to a woman and
I'm
do
sorry.
that. Yeah.
What you're saying about the trust thing, I
Yeah.
always take everything back to childhood.
Yeah.
I take it back there because the reason I said what I'm about to say is learning to trust one another in that fashion has to start there. Like last time I was here, we discussed. I had said stop having certain conversations around these children.
Yeah.
I had that. I
I
had
love
that
that.
point in my
Yeah.
family, but the reason I say that is because those
Because you
things.
sowing seed.
You're sowing seeds. So those seeds of mistrust were sown a very long time before we ever met each other.
Absolutely.
The fact that I feel like I'm the man, I should just do it. It was sown years ago.
Okay.
It was sown that, you gotta take care of yourself, girl. Don't trust no man. It was sown years ago. So we both have to come out of that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm
So
saying?
you got to relearn
and
what you learned.
Yeah, unlearn what you learned,
Yeah.
and then the other component is, like he said, like I'm not gonna have a conversation about certain things with you. Got me? Like when I all right, let's say we go to a basketball court right now.
Yeah.
Got me? We don't. Ant can run his mouth for the next 30 minutes on the way to the court and say, I'm the best one in
could
the
be
car.
horrible.
Yeah, give me the rock, give me the ball, give me the ball.
He gonna be dressed the best too if he the horrible one. You know that? That's how it is.
Headband,
Yeah,
on,
right.
wristband.
But I'm gonna say this: as guys, we get to the court and we start passing the ball around, and we realize who the man is.
First dribble.
Yeah, we don't, there's no need to have that conversation.
Right.
So my actions are going to do this. So you need to communicate, yes, but the actions of a person say what, like when certain things happen, like I don't really talk about this much, but when my wife got cancer, my actions said something.
Gotcha.
There was no, like, I had to stop myself from, I got to stop it now from crying because I had never let myself be emotional. Because I was like, I can't be emotional
time,
right now.
yeah.
I got to go to work.
Gotta go to work, yeah.
I got to sleep 2 hours, 3 hours a day and clean the house because she can't get
She
sick.
can't, yeah.
They got to still go to, my son went to an all-star team. My daughter's in Disney World cheering at the championship still. And everyone's like, well, that's great. Yeah, how you think? I'm exhausted.
You're exhausted. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, action says when that moment shows up. So you're not going to know if a person can lead until that leadership moment shows up. And like I say, my wife leads in other ways that are better. And I sit back and go, yo, that's what's up right now. Because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
But if you I don't know if I can say that on a.
Go ahead. What?
But if you're cutting his balls, right, before he can get the chance to lead,
Okay.
because you got anxious, because you were like, I'm not even gonna give him the shot,
Yeah.
right? And when it gets a little hairy, and you got that, when there's decision being made, and it's like kind of 50-50, and then you say, well, I feel this way, and you push that other way, right? He does not have the ability to. I mean, the way I'm saying is very little ability he had to combat you, in the house or out the house, because when it all goes in, right, it goes escalates, it comes back to the system that's going to come out and it's going to diminish him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what,
that part you got to think about.
In that though, so I want two parts of that. I love that you shared that because that just gave me a whole nother way to process. No, I did. I'm listening
good
to
at
learn
that.
it. I'm always processing because I want to be better, right? I'm getting married once, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I want to know, and I've sat in these rooms because I grew up in this place. But like we said on another podcast, it was with younger men, right?
Yeah.
So to sit before grown men who are fathers and husbands, and you know what I mean, and like grasp from you. Of course, I'm always drinking, but I guess for the women's perspective, because I wanted to ask that question as I was listening to you. But what if somebody's shown you or dropped the ball continuously in that aspect? Like, I think I'm trying to figure out where to be like, oh, don't cut his balls. And I hate to use, I'm going to use your term. I never heard that term, but apparently it's the new Exchange podcast term. But don't cut his balls at this place, right? So when do you just do I keep trusting who's there if they're dropping the ball, or is it a point that I'm just like I'm asking for the question that she said?
I'm saying like you know when you drop a ball.
I know, but no.
What I'm saying is like if I'm dropping the ball, then this you lead.
Then
this.
am
I
I
tried.
okay to lead?
It's okay for you now. Like,
But what if that person
I'm not
is
gonna
still
keep
trying
passing
to
him the rock
lead?
if he keep missing layups.
And I don't want the ball.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want the ball.
I don't think.
analogy,
I mean,
but
if a
it's what
guy's
it
dropping the
is.
ball, he said, "You know, you're dropping the ball." If I'm dropping the ball, I don't. Me personally, I'm not trying to lead. I can't do it.
Now, me
can't
dropping
do it.
one shot don't mean that I'm
No.
She's,
all privileged
But
to be
I'm
on the
talking,
game.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
If you're
That's what
yearly
happens a lot.
dropping
Yeah.
the
It's not my
ball,
thing.
Impatience.
Yeah.
That's the
like
problem
if
with impatience.
let's just say your birthday comes around, and
Yeah.
every year you
drop
just say
the
surprise
ball.
me, babe, and I'm just doing some crap that's not your thing, and I'm like, you know
Child.
what? I can't plan it right. Can you tell me what you want to do?
yeah.
And then you go by that, but. That's just an example, but it's
Yeah.
most things, man. If a guy, I feel like personally, I think that if a guy is continuously dropping, we know when we're dropping the ball, and if we are, can you take that? I don't
I'll
want
be
to do that.
transparent with that. So, I've been blessed in terms of my ability to make income.
Yeah.
Right. But in my life, it's like, hey, we got this. Let's buy that. Let's get this. Let's go, ladies, right? And my wife, right? She's, I think she's just very, very detailed.
Yeah,
in terms of
she
making
is.
stuff
My
get set up.
sister love her.
And she's that, right?
Yeah.
And it's to the extent where it's like, hey, you know what? Direct deposit, one account, here's the card. It's gonna go there. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's, that's something where in time I'm used to. I'm like, girl, I make some money, right? I'm working, but now it's like, all right, let's make this household.
But that,
I got a house.
see how that works for y'all?
Yeah.
Because you have a planner, you have a detailer, and then you're the guy that brings it. That works. That works.
That's also an act of
dope,
submission.
though.
Right.
Yeah.
In his part and her part.
I
That's
was
an act
about
of
to
submission.
say,
Right.
it's the exchange.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's how it's
Right.
supposed to,
That's
to
that,
work.
you know.
I can't
But
wait
it
to
also-
give
it's
the
also,
bills to
it also
somebody.
takes
Not
maturity
the
and
fun. I'll
age.
make
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
Look, I'll make it. I don't want to manage it. It's a lot to
Yeah,
manage a
yeah,
household. That's not. That's
yeah.
real. That's real. I can't wait to not
I'm gonna
worry
be
when
honest with
stuff
you,
is
Deb. If
due.
you've been doing it this long and you've been this good at it, you probably gonna
I
end up
don't feel
burning
like
dead
I'm
too.
good at it. I really don't. I
Well,
feel
if you
like
find someone better, good luck. But you sound like you're doing a pretty
yeah,
good job.
for
So
real.
but when I'm saying that to say that this is on me and you know. I'm saying that to
Yeah,
say
no.
don't negate a dude for that because he's gonna pull something out. You're gonna
Always.
bring something. Another conversation I had with my wife last night.
yeah.
We were taught the difference between men and women, how we're different but equal years ago. Science class. A man is made of an X and a Y, right? Mm-hmm. A woman is 2 times my X.
Yep.
No matter what woman it is, there are some things that you are
That's
2 times
good.
greater than I am at. Why? Because there's 2 X's in you. That I can't touch that. That X, I
Wow.
can't get nowhere near you with that. But on the same flip side, this Y that I possess, you don't have
You
that
don't
in
have
you.
it. I
So
love
that what makes
that.
us equal yet different. And I think and that's my issue with
That's
a lot
your
of these.
wisdom of the day,
A lot
one.
of these.
That's a good one.
I like
A
that
lot of these
breakdown.
female
Yeah.
movements. That's
Yeah.
the problem with it. Because I'm like, no, we're not equal. We're
Yeah.
equally different.
I love
And you got to
that.
understand that we are
Always
equally
the gems.
different. I
Yeah.
have to, and that's why I said that might be your equally different thing. He
I
might
know,
not
I'ma
come with
take
that to
that.
the table, but he's gonna come with something else that you don't possess that you need.
Yeah.
And that's
God,
what
give
me
me
and
what
you-
I need, not even what I want. I don't even know
It's
at this
team.
point.
So I like the concept. He said of basketball. So rarely in sport though, when he misses a shot, if I want to win, what I'm not going to do is annihilate him.
Yeah.
When he misses that shot,
I'm not gonna get on him.
I'm
Not a good
might be like,
team.
yo, come on, baby, let's go, right? But it's not
Yeah.
gonna be like you suck, you're nothing.
Yeah.
You ain't getting
Teams
the
do
ball.
You're
that,
nothing. Your dad's
lose.
nothing.
Yeah.
Your mama's right.
Yeah.
Teams
Teams do
do
that, lose.
right? And so when I think that honor thing. So if you think about it in relationships, those relationships that stay when the man is happiest, right? He's that comfort spot. She don't have to be brilliant
like it.
looking. She don't have to be
Yeah.
whatever. You can have the finest chick ever. She's yapping and kind of coming at you and making
Yeah.
you feel
Belittling you.
that invalidated feeling, right?
Yeah.
It could be whoever. It could be Big Mama, whatever. Big Mama, Big Draws,
Okay,
right?
not Big Mama, Big Draws.
And she
Hey,
comes,
you're right.
He's right, yeah.
And she's just like, hey, here's your chicken, right? Here's your chicken to eat.
Big piece.
You're a good person, and
So that's your wisdom for the
That's
day.
it.
So don't belittle them,
Yeah.
or don't at the first drop of the ball, and I'm gonna call it drop the ball.
Yep.
But at that point, to continue
Keep 'em in
to
the game.
keep them
That's
in the
it.
game.
Yep.
And I think the listeners can discern when
Yep.
it's time to either move along or transfer that. Whatever that responsibility is to
Yeah.
someone else. How about you, Aunt? What other wisdom you got?
The biggest thing I took communication. I think
Yeah.
every podcast we've done has always came back to communication.
It's so big.
And we always go back to kill, but it's
Yeah.
all like he said. Since we were children,
Yeah.
since we were children, a lot of us we talk about these relationships. Most of us are broken. We are broken people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So-
Well, that's why
Just
this is the
break the
healing.
next generation a little
It's
less.
the- look,
That's what you do. You break the next generation a little
Yeah,
less.
this is
Right.
the healing season for that. Is that if we can get better, that we, heal people. You know what I mean? It causes us to really look at ourselves and dig deep with ourselves. And some people can't even be in relationships or have gotten into relationships way too soon because they're not good. So you're bringing your broken stuff into a relationship, probably with another broken person
Yes,
who probably aren't at a place to even work on themselves. But I love that y'all came through today.
Appreciate for having
I
us.
know.
This was
was
like
good.
I sat back and
Awesome
listened.
show.
This was
This-
enlightening,
this
man.
is good.
Awesome show, Dad.
Yeah.
Every time you call, my brain goes overdrive. I honestly grow as a person every single time.
Yeah, I love y'all. I hope that some of y'all or all of y'all be able to come back this month because we celebrate.
Always, I'm always
Yeah.
there.
And the listeners, keep on listening because I got a lot of jewels. I'm going back to re-listen to this one.
Oh yeah.
And we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.